You will not want to miss this interview with the impressive Chanel Robertson, fix and flipper. You may want to take some notes because we've got a lot of good stuff as Chanel talks to me.
Hello, Donna Klein here with Our MTR Life, and I have a very special guest. I'm going to be interviewing Chanel Robertson, who is a female fix and flipper, obviously female. So let's just give people a background, like where you grew up and just a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I grew up in a suburb of Los Angeles and made my way up to Portland, Oregon about 6 years ago. And I've always really been into renovating homes, real estate in general. I never knew that my professional path was going to take me that way, but it was always in the back of my mind. At night, I would be one of those people scrolling through Zillow and just looking at properties, dreaming about, I would change this about this kitchen and whatnot. But yeah, I finally got tired of corporate America and decided to jump in and start real estate.
So were you interested in things like this as a child?
Really little, maybe more so decorating than building homes. My mom was always really into decorating, so
okay. But you didn't grow up. Your dad wasn't a fixer flipper or anything.
No.
Okay.
My mom loved designing our house, and she was very meticulous about it, but no influence there.
Okay. So then, how did you actually get started with your first fix and flip?
I guess technically my first one was the first home that I bought, and I bought it knowing that I needed to fix some of it up. It needed a new kitchen. It needed to be completely landscaped, the front and the back. So I went into it knowing I was going to put work into it, and I was excited about it because I wanted to. Back then when you're really young, you're fixated on expressing yourself, and so I really wanted to put my stamp on it. But I also knew what added value to the home. I think just subconsciously, seeing what my mom has done to our family homes. So yeah, that was my first live-in. I was there for 3 years, renovated it the whole time, and then sold it once I was done.
Okay, so how many flips have you done so far?
So far I've done 3.
Okay, tell me about the other 2.
The other 2 was the next home that I bought in Portland, and it was built in the mid-20s. There had been a little bit of renovation done to it. They had renovated the attic to make it living space, but it still had a huge unfinished basement. It was kind of a creepy one, and the backyard was just a forest, and the front yard was not very well taken care of. And there were just a few renovations or fixes that the house needed. So I basically renovated the whole backyard, put hardscape, landscape, plants, fixed up the garage a little bit so that it could be used for studio space. And the basement, I built out the whole thing so that it had 2 rooms, it had a half bath, like a proper laundry room, and kind of a flex space that we ended up using for a gym. And the front yard had made all pretty. So
that's a lot of work.
Yeah. So I lived there again for 3 years, and
okay, so you were living there while you were renovating
Yes.
it. Okay, so the first one you were living there, you sold it. How much? I don't know, you want to say how much
did I
you made?
pocket?
Yeah.
After taxes, about 70 something.
Okay.
It was a while ago.
Okay. Good. That's great.
Yeah. Especially for my first home.
Okay. And then the second one?
The second one, I pocketed about 100,000 after taxes.
Triple digits.
Yeah, well, I mean, COVID happened and the market spiked, so that's what really...
Timing is everything in real estate.
Yeah, exactly. And we didn't really, right now, our market, we don't have a lot of inventory, so I think selling it at the right time, again, that really helped me get my revenue in my pocket. And the third one I did is a proper flip where I purchased it with the intention of it being my income.
So you didn't live in this one?
Nope. Nope. I was finishing up my second home that I had renovated. And so I purchased that one. It was a hoarder's house. It was a condo. Well, it was a townhome. So I didn't have to touch the outside because it was under an HOA, which I thought was smart for my first flip because, baby steps. And the inside was horrific and terrible, and it smelled awful. And there was, I'm not going to get too graphic, but there was some poo on the walls in really interesting places. And they had let their animals use the restroom in the house. So
That's pretty typical for that type of situation.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It's it's shocking when you actually see it in person and have to work in that environment. But that's the reason why I got it, was because no one else wanted it. So low-hanging fruit.
And just so people know, being a fix and flipper is really good for your community, because you can take a house or a property that has not been taken care of and then make it beautiful. And then also the neighbors love you because you're bringing up the property values and things like that.
Yeah, so many neighbors came over and were like, thank you
they
so
must
much.
Have loved you.
Yeah, and the good thing for the neighbors in the surrounding area is I'm usually raising the home values in the area a little bit as well. So not only am I creating housing for people, new renovated housing instead of it sitting vacant, but also I'm improving the value of the neighborhood. And it feels good to improve something, you know, to take it where it needs some help. It's a distressed property, they like to say, and make it into something pretty. And I enjoyed the specific price point that it was at, because it was more of a starter home price point. And so it was really awesome for a new homeowner. I found out that purchased the property, this is his first home, and it's almost brand new.
Do you want to tell us what you bought it for and what you sold it for?
Yeah, so I bought it for $209, and I put about 40 grand into it for the renovation, and then I sold it for $319.
That's a pretty nice little spread you got there.
It was. It went a couple grand over asking price, which felt really good for my first official flip, and the buyers were over the moon. The neighbors, it was funny, they would come in and tour throughout the process, and they're like, oh, I love that, where'd you get that? How much did this cost? So they were all kind of interested in renovating their homes too, so it kind of inspired everyone around.
Absolutely. And so you've got 3 flips under your belt, but how did you learn the ABCs of flipping? I mean, if your family didn't do it, then did you have a mentor? Did you research school? I mean, I don't even know if you can go to school for that.
Well, I wish you could in person, that would have been amazing. But no, what I did was I always was curious about it, and I literally just started listening to podcasts and YouTube channels like yours. Learned so much on YouTube channels. But I started listening to a podcast called Flip Houses Like a Girl.
Flip Houses Like a Girl.
Flip Houses Like a Girl.
Now, how come I didn't hear about that podcast? Okay, so I would have liked to listen to that.
Yeah, I just searched I use Spotify for my podcast, but I just searched in Spotify, and that was one of the first ones that came up. And I thought it was unique because it's speaking to women in general. So, you know, we have a little bit more of a challenge in that type of industry. So I thought that unique perspective would be helpful. So I listened to that podcast. The woman that runs it, Debbie DeBerry, she has a training course all on flipping houses. And it does take some cash out of pocket, but if I were going to learn the whole process on my own just by Googling, taking video courses, YouTube, podcasts, you can learn all that, but it's not as organized. So I definitely would suggest taking a course of any kind so that it can weed through all the hoopla that you see and really focus on what the P's and Q's are and what the bones of your process is.
So what was some of the real benefits of being in a course or a mentorship like that was all women?
Well, this specific one does have a Facebook community that helps you through the course, and also after the course. You can reach out to all of these women, and they can you use them as a sounding board. Does this work? What do you guys think about this problem? Has anyone ran into this? So you really have a support group. But also the main benefit was really the mindset of being with like people that have the same challenges as you do.
You keep saying challenges. What are some of the challenges you're referring to?
So as a woman, sometimes you won't be taken seriously in this male-dominated industry. And I think that it's all in your approach towards the contractors and people that you meet. You really need to, how do I say this? Present yourself in a professional, serious manner, and don't show your fear.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna do a little role play.
Okay.
I'm going to be a meek person and you're going to be you meeting a general contractor. Okay. All right. So I'm the meek person. Oh, hi, I'm Donna. This is my first fix and flip. I really don't know what I'm doing. Do you think this is a good property? Okay.
So what I generally do is when the contractor comes to the door, I would make sure I open the door. I'd say, come in, I'm Chanel. I'll give them a firm handshake. I'll say, thanks for coming. Thanks for being flexible, letting them know that you're thankful for their time. You're speaking with authority a little bit louder so that the attention is on you, so that they know when they walk into the room that this is your space and you are here to work with them, but also you're in control, for lack of a better word. I don't want to say control, but
so you're taking the lead. You're leading him instead of letting him lead you.
Yes. But I definitely let them, once I've kind of established that, I'm serious, I'm confident. I even I'll say, let me take you on a tour of the house. And then I'll kind of tell them, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm thinking very briefly, but also I'll sit back and I'll say, for instance, a last property I looked at, it was the first time that I've used a contractor for a major renovation down in the basement. Usually I just manage my subcontractors myself. So I told him, I said, this is the first time I'm using a contractor. I usually do this myself. So unfiltered, I want to hear your opinion. What do you see? What do you think? And I say, I don't have any emotions behind business. Just give it to me straight. And so then they're able to, speak freely, and they don't have to walk gingerly around, and they can feel more confident in sharing their professional opinion.
So how do you find your deals? Are you using a wholesaler? Are you doing it yourself, a realtor?
Yeah, so the last deals that I've used was the last deals that I found, I've used a realtor. There are different ways of finding deals. I have worked with wholesalers, but I haven't purchased from a wholesaler yet, just because it hasn't been the right deal. But I definitely, that's an avenue that I would take if it was the right deal. But I've worked specifically with my realtor because she has acted as a mentor to me in a way. She's taught me a ton. And she's very experienced, so she walks through the properties, and she's essentially my general contractor because she has that knowledge. She can point things out and say, well, now this looks kind of sketch. You'll probably need to replace this, or this is going to cost this much. So that's the reason why I have been leaning towards using a realtor as opposed to marketing myself or using a wholesaler, because she's definitely my security blanket at the moment.
So it sounds to me like this particular realtor, not any realtor, but this particular realtor has a lot of experience, and not just with maybe the area, but also with the actual house and how it's constructed and what work needs to be done. So that is definitely, I can see that as a benefit.
She's a rarity. She's worked in new construction. She's worked in renovations. She herself is an investor and does flip properties as well. And that is a huge, huge key. If you can find a realtor that invests themselves, you're going to get the right information and houses from them, as opposed to someone who doesn't necessarily have that background. They don't see the numbers quite as you would.
That's a really good point. I hope everyone made note of that. That's very important for you. Okay. So what kind of properties do you look for in a flip?
So generally, I'm looking for single family homes. My rule of thumb, just because it's safe in the realm of risk, it's safer to target the market's median. So it's going to be different in different areas. But our median here is generally in between 300,000 to 600,000. So I'm buying 200,000 below that so that I can renovate and then sell it at that price. So I'm looking for single family homes, generally a 3-bedroom, 2-bath that will fit, a normal sized family. Or if the home doesn't have that many bedrooms or that many bathrooms, if I can purchase a home that has extra square footage where I can value add, I can add a bedroom, maybe it's a basement. I can add a bathroom. I can add more living spaces. Or it might just be that this home is sprawling. It's like a sprawling ranch home, and I can split it in half and turn it into a duplex easily. So that creates an option for, newer homeowners or homeowners that are looking to, it's called house hacking, live in one side and then rent out the other. And a lot of times that can cover their mortgage. So it's a different way of investing. So I'm basically looking for a value add.
Okay, great. So what is your process when buying a house? So you've got your realtor looking for you, she brings you something or a couple different ones. What is that process like?
So generally I'm the one looking because she doesn't know all the nuances of my numbers. So unless it's like something that just popped up in the morning, she'll be like, look at this. But otherwise I'm looking because I know exactly what I'm looking for.
And that's really good too. You have to know exactly what you're looking for. Okay,
yeah, and you learn a lot by just looking and digging around and walking through homes. Even if it's a home that you don't think is going to work, you can learn so much by just going and looking.
Give me an example. What do you mean?
So for instance, wholesalers, sometimes they have really rough properties and you'll think this is scary. This is maybe not something that I'd touch because it's a really involved, maybe it has like foundation cracks or something like that. I go and I still look at the property because there's other people looking at the property at the same time. And you hear what they're saying and you see like, okay, how bad is this crack? How does that measure for the value that is set on the home, the price that's on the home? So you can the more homes you walk through, the more you can see how they justified the price. So just going and looking, you can have your own education by just absorbing your surroundings.
Okay. And as far as when you're looking for a flip, so now that you're not living in them and you're actually looking for a flip, what is the percentage that you want to make on your flip? Like the minimum?
Right. So a good rule of thumb is to at least make 10% on your ARV or after renovation value. So the price you're selling the home, you want to make 10% of that.
Okay.
Depending on where you live, you might have like income taxes on top of that. If you're living in Portland, if you're living in Washington, you won't have that. So
oh, that's right.
Yeah, so
that's right.
That's why I'm looking in Washington now. But I took us off track. But process for buying a home, I'm looking for the right home. Before I go and look at it, I'm going to pull, or my realtor is going to pull comps. So we're going to see what could we sell.
That was a bunny.
What can we sell the house for? So I can make sure my numbers work before we waste our time and go look at it. Then I'm going to tour the home. I'm going to figure out in more detail what the renovation is going to need.
And how do you do that? Do you have a deal analyzer program or?
I have a deal analyzer and I have a spreadsheet that has approximate prices listed for everything you could possibly want.
Meaning like dishwasher,
drywall, interior doors, demo, dumpsters, plumber costs, literally every labor or item you could purchase.
Is this just in an Excel sheet? Okay.
It's an Excel sheet.
Okay.
So I'm seeing in person. After that, I'm going to go home. I'm going to look at my numbers, make sure it makes sense. After that, I'm going to tell my realtor I'd like to offer this. She'll make the offer, say they accept the offer. Then I will go into an inspection period, which I like to keep to, depending on how quickly I can get a home inspector, 5 to 10 days.
What's the normal inspection period time?
For a normal escrow, honestly, I've forgotten because I haven't.
Isn't it like 10 days or?
It
you
might
said
be
5 days. I thought, boy, that's really quick.
Yeah. If you can get a home inspector in that time and maybe you don't need a contractor to walk through, it depends on your team and how flexible they are. Generally, depending on the type of cash that you have or money you have to purchase the home, if you have cash, escrow can go really quick. If you have hard money, escrow can go really quick. So yeah, I'm during my expecting period, I'm doing my due diligence. I'm looking up if there's any liens on the property. I'm getting a contractor through there to make sure to get his pricing.
Do you have one go through or multiple contractors?
I have multiple just because I haven't found a contractor that I love yet.
Contractors?
Yeah, and I haven't used one in the past, so I'm still kind of vetting that process. But it's smart to get a couple. If I'm using subcontractors, I'll definitely get a couple through because their bids are all over the place. So
this last project, this last flip that you did, did you get all subcontractors and then you were like GC on it?
Yeah, so I was basically managing. I was the project manager. So I was managing all the subcontractors when they would come in, when they're done billing.
Who does the permits?
I haven't needed permits yet. So that's why I was going to use a contractor for the last property I looked at, because it would be a whole renovation or build out of the basement. So that would need permits. And we were going to put it in a bathroom. That needs permits. So I haven't come across that yet. A lot of times if you're just doing a cosmetic flip, you don't need to necessarily get a permit. So yeah, I'll have the contractors come through, and if everything checks out and it's still within your budget, during the inspection period, you'll put in your earnest money, which is usually 1% of the purchase price. And then after your inspection period, your escrow starts. During escrow, I am scrambling. I'm getting subcontractors in there. I'm planning my whole schedule out. I use a Gantt chart to track who's there, when, where it's going to overlap,
Explain
how long.
What a Gantt chart
A Gantt
is.
chart. A Gantt chart shows who, when, what, and how they overlap. So it's
like a timeline.
It's a timeline. It uses little colored bars I'm a visual person, so I need the little colored bars and how they overlap and how it goes through time.
Okay. So in a Gantt chart, it'll be like almost like a diagonal. So this is the beginning of the project, and you're going to go through like 1 week, and then the next week, and then sometimes the weeks overlap, and you'll see drywall being done, or mudding being done, or things like that, painting being done, and that's what the Gantt chart is. It's very good for visual people.
Yeah.
Okay.
I couldn't do it without it, really.
All right. So where are you finding your subs in these GCs?
A lot of referrals from my realtor. I belong to a real estate investment group, which is how I found you. A lot of referrals there. There's also
that group, by the way, is called REVIN, Real Estate Vancouver Investors Network.
Yes. Yeah, there's also other Facebook groups within the Northwest. I'm sure they're all over, but called PDX Contractors or Find Your Contractor. They're groups of contractors or people who are searching for a contractor. You can in the past, I've just posted on the Facebook page, I need drywall on this date, and usually it's within a tight time frame, and I'll say, is there anyone who can accomplish this with this budget? And people will answer, and so you'll contact them and kind of vet them out after that.
You know, that's an interesting way of doing it, because sometimes you have a good contrast, a good sub or something, but they're busy on another project during your time.
Yeah.
So that time frame is really important, because
Yeah.
if one contractor falls behind, then that whole chart gets
Time is
pushed.
money.
Yeah.
Time is money. So sometimes you have to find a plan B or plan C.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. What is the most challenging part of what you do?
I think that it's having the right mindset. You have to be a organic problem solver to do this.
What does that mean, organic problem solver?
You have to naturally have you have to have a knack for problem solving, because you have a lot of money on the line, and it's natural for you to get anxiety and panic instead of saying, okay, just take a deep breath. Let me just try to figure this out instead of panicking. Let me reach out to the people that I know. You really, instead of going into panic mode and applying emotion to a problem, you have to act on it immediately.
Can you give me an example of a problem that you had in one of your flips, and how you resolved it?
The last one was pretty smooth, to be honest with you. So I got really lucky. Well, I would say I did have a plumber bail, and I didn't have any toilets running in the unit, and I had to make sure that my subcontractors and myself, because we're there all day, have a toilet to use. So I posted on the Facebook page, like, can anyone come out now? And then I also I just did a Google search and called the larger companies, because generally they have more people to dispatch out. So I found someone that way. But you could just panic and be like, okay, well, let me figure out how to put in a toilet. And then you're going to end up probably having errors, and then it's going to snowball. So instead of being emotional or panicking, you really have to stop yourself and stay in that mindset of just problem solve. It's business. Don't be emotional.
And I like how you said not to do it yourself, because a lot of people end up doing things themselves to save money and end up paying for it a lot more down the line.
It's happened to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've definitely done a lot myself, and I like doing that work. But if it's electrical or some involved plumbing, although I could learn how to do it, I really just want to leave it to the pros, because you don't want that liability of it breaking when the homeowner's in there. And yeah.
Okay. So tell me about your finishes on a project, you know, the appliances and all the things that make it modern. Mm-hmm. So what's your process with that? And where do you get your finishes?
So generally in the first part of my process, when I'm making the Gantt chart, I'll make, I don't want to call it a mood board, but I'll find some finishes that speak to the home and make a visual representation of it digitally. And that will give the vibe of the home and how I'm going to decorate it with finishes. Generally, I'm going for things a little on the modern side, just because they're clean, they're geometric, it can work with any style. I'm trying not to use super trendy things so that it appeals to a larger market and trends go out of style. Mm-hmm. So I try to use a neutral palette. If I'm going for a color, it's going to be something that is really common in the area. Like the Northwest, I'd say greens are a little more acceptable. You know, it's mirroring the surroundings, so I might use a green or something like that. But generally, I'm not using really poppy finishes. Again, it depends on the home. If it's a mid-century, then I might go a little funky with it. But when I say funky, I mean maybe like the light fixtures, and it's not too loud. I get my finishes from, honestly, I do a lot of online shopping and comparing, because again, time is money, so it has to ship quick, it has to be in stock.
And you're not letting someone else do this.
No.
This is the best, this is the fun part.
It is the fun part. Yeah. And so that's where I save the most money, is when I find those deals. There's certain websites like Wayfair has a really great pro discount.
Now what does that mean? Because I'd like to know about that. What do you mean, a pro discount?
So you apply on their website with your business,
your EIN number?
Yeah, your EIN, and as long as you're within real estate, you can get some hefty discounts. You know, Home Depot, Lowe's, they all have little discounts here and there. So I'm generally looking for the most budget-friendly thing. And also a great where I get my appliances. If it's a home that I could put used appliances in, then I will go on Facebook Marketplace and get like a lightly used stove or something like that. Or I think it's called American Freight now. It used to be Sears Outlet. They have unwrapped new appliances, or they might have an appliance that has a ding on the side, but it's like you would never know.
Dent and scratch.
Yeah, so you can get a lot off that way. Again, that's where I save a lot of money, is not buying like full price, unless it's a home that's going for a higher price point. Then you want to put the new stuff in, but it just depends.
That's some great tips. Okay, let's see. So now you bought your property, you've done all the finishes and all the remodeling, and how are you selling it?
So I'm going to have my realtor that I purchased the property with sell it. She's also going to get a bigger cut of the sale. So I like that we're working together, and each property has reward for her as well, because she puts a lot of work into it. You don't always need your seller's agent, doesn't always need to be your purchasing agent, but that's just the way I like to use that process. So she sells it, and we usually have an open house the first weekend, get as many people as possible through there. You know, if we're lucky, we get a couple offers and we sell it. So I've been lucky that I haven't had any properties that have sat on the market more than a week.
What the last one you sold, what month and year was that?
It was this year in May.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it took me, all in all, it took me about 3 months to renovate.
Okay, great. Okay, so even in this market, it went really quick.
It went quick, but again, it heavy cosmetic, but just cosmetic, and I didn't have to do anything to the outside. So it was pretty turn and burn. I stacked a lot of my subcontractors so they were there at the same time, but not interfering with each other, so that I could get it done quickly.
Yeah, some of them don't like other people in the way, and I understand both sides. I
Yeah.
understand the time. I understand that they don't want
You can't.
interference.
Yeah, you can't have someone working on electrical if someone's trying to cut wood in the garage and do trim. So you got to try to stack it correctly.
All right. So, what do you need help with right now? Do you need help finding properties, or where are you with that?
Right now, I need help in the knowledge department. I'm just a human sponge right now, and I'm trying to learn everything I possibly can. There's different avenues you can take with real estate. You know, there's flipping, there's new builds, there's undeveloped property you can purchase and buy. So I'm just trying to learn everything I can to figure out what's the right path for me. But also with renovating, there's so much knowledge that you can have. So I try to ask a ton of questions of my contractors, of my realtor.
And each project has a different set of problems and issues. And
yeah, so I guess I'm looking for mentors, people that I can just absorb knowledge from, watch. You know, as far as marketing your own properties, the transaction between a possible home seller and a wholesaler, I would love to know what that looks like. Like, I'd love to just be a fly on the wall and know what the interaction is. I need help finding properties that are off the market so that I could get at a discount price and have that room to renovate and sell. That's pretty much what I need at the moment is just knowledge and properties.
All right. So if you have a property, or if you're a wholesaler, you are looking in what areas?
Clark County, Multnomah County.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the county she's looking in. Multnomah is Oregon, and then Clark County is Vancouver area in Washington. And what is the price range you're looking for?
Anywhere between $250 and $450 is kind of my sweet spot to purchase in.
Okay. And you're looking for basically 3 2s, or something you can add value to.
3 2s or 2 2s with square footage, or small multifamily that need renovations. Yeah.
Okay. So you just mentioned other avenues. So are there other avenues in real estate that you're maybe also thinking about getting into?
I think organically holding properties for a rental is kind of just organically happens when you're flipping homes, if you find one that pencils and is special. So I'm definitely looking for properties where I could add to my portfolio in that way. So right now it's just flipping and looking for a possible rental. That rental can be a midterm rental. It can be interchangeably midterm or short, or it can be a long-term rental. It kind of just depends on how the numbers play out in the location.
Sure. So how are you funding your flips?
So I'm very frugal, and I fund most of my flips with some of my own cash. Most of that cash came from my previous 2 properties that I sold. And also I have a couple people that will lend a little bit of private money, and I also have hard money resources. So mainly I'm leading with my cash and seeing how I need to supplement with loans.
Oh, you're in a pretty good position then. Okay, so I want to know a couple things. This is all about being a woman. So first of all, tell me like the main difficult thing besides being serious or being taken serious, do you have as a challenge of being a woman in this industry?
I think that being taken seriously is the biggest one. But basically what I haven't run into a lot of issues because I lead in that manner. Being flirted with is a little bit of one.
Okay. All right.
So like once I started to, drop my guard a little bit, sometimes you'll get some little combos or looks, but generally if you just stay in the professional realm, then you're good. But just leading with a confident voice. And
now, can you just walk in a room with a bunch of men in the industry, and do you feel like you're able to be a part of the conversation, or do they kind of leave you out? Like, how How does that work?
Yeah. Ironically, I'm more comfortable around men, a room of men, than I am a group of women, just because of the industries that I've worked in the past have all been male dominated.
And what were some of those?
I've worked in the auto industry since I was a child. I've been in the manufacturing industry. I've been in, gosh.
So you have really good work experience with men. Okay, so that's really helpful.
Men and project management. I do, yeah. And I'm a bit of a tomboy at heart anyway, so it's kind of organic. But yeah, walking into a room of men, they generally don't pay attention to me. Like, you know, you'll get the initial look of like, what's she doing here? And then I'll just find an opportunity and start talking to someone. And once I kind of show that I'm not like sulking around in the background, which is what I want to do, but you know, you can't show your social anxiety. Yeah, just start talking to people and putting on that confident front really helps.
So do you go up and you're shaking their hand, hey, and I do this, and
I'll kind of work the room a little bit just to like hear who's talking about what, because I don't want to just walk up to someone and be like, hey, I'm Chanel, I do this, and it's not relevant. But yeah, I'll just kind of like feel out the room a little bit and see where I can sneak in and then introduce myself confidently.
So you're a really pretty girl. So what is the line that you say when you feel it's going into that flirty direction? Or is it just more of an attitude?
I feel like my attitude wards off a lot of it. Honestly, I'm pretty blind to advances like that. It's probably a bad thing, but
not for your boyfriend.
Not for my boyfriend, and not for me really, because I don't like drama in the workplace. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I just come up with something. Like I'll just be like, yeah, me and my boyfriend did this on blah blah. You know, I'll kind of interject something in that way so that it cuts it off.
It's funny, you know, when you're young, like you are, and even younger than you, it's really difficult to figure out how to maneuver that. As an older woman now, I would have no problem addressing that. Although it would never happen to me.
It would,
but it is a hard thing to maneuver, and I always find the best thing to do is add a little humor to it.
Yeah.
So. You get in a weird position, someone starts flirting, you can always do the, are you flirting with me? Well, my husband's going to be angry, you know, or just something silly. Yeah, that really helps. And then they usually go, oh, I'm just kidding. So, okay. All right, so tell the women out there who want to be flippers, give them some advice about it.
Well, like I said previously, you definitely need to be a problem solver. You can't get caught up with your emotions. You have to press forward. Also, you need to be good with your money, and you have to be comfortable with accounting, because initially you're probably doing your own books. You can always learn how to do accounting. You can always learn how to have the mindset of conquering issues and solving problems. That was a big part of the course that I took and the community that I am a part of, both the group that we belong to and my women's group, is really mindset. You have to train your brain to work for you and not against you.
Are there any particular skills? Like if I wanted to be a flipper, is there, besides maybe looking into that mentorship you have there, are there any type of skills that would be beneficial to me, or any type of programs or like Excel? Like Excel would be a really good program to learn. What else?
You know, I'm surprised that there's a lot of people who don't use Excel and thrive in this business, but it certainly helps to know Excel or use technology to your benefit. I'm a spreadsheet person, and so that's how I work. I can't imagine it without it. But some people just like a good old pencil and piece of paper, and they can figure it out that way. But definitely streamlines things if you're tech savvy.
Okay. All right. Any last words for our future lady flippers?
You can do it. You can do it. You just need to train yourself to be an elite problem solver and be good with money.
Good with money.
Good with money.
Okay.
It's scary, but you'll get over it if you have the right mindset.
Thank you so much, Chanel, for letting me ask you a million questions.
Yeah, it was fun.
I hope that what she said helped everybody out there. And is there any way that people can get a hold of you if they have something for you, like a property or anything?
Yeah, I have an Instagram that you can plug in. I don't post much on there because I'm still new to this industry, and until I have some boasty accomplishments.
I will make her put some things up there.
Yeah, I really should.
Some of her past flips.
Yeah. Yeah, so I have an Instagram that you can plug. And other than that, I have a business phone number that is my direct line for my business.
I will put all that in the show notes below.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, thanks so much.
Yeah,
that was so much
fun.
fun. All right, y'all. Thanks for coming.